Alright, we have some problems. We did some things wrong and we need to fix them. Everything's fine in calibration. We need to go to ports, and what I told you in UARTs about using 2 here and skipping this was wrong. It works and everything functions except for on-screen display. For some reason it won't work when this is on, so I went back to this setting and there's my on-screen display, which does have to be set, and I had to go check, and I looked around for all my problems. On-screen displays turned on, and where else would it be? There are modes to turn it off, but there's no button to say don't show it. So we'll go in here and I will explain a few things. It doesn't see any of this. In fact, if you click this on DJI, it erases a whole lot of things you can't do. So so my settings changed a little bit, but that's not the biggest problem. All this cool font and stuff, loading and loading, and I load and I load, and it doesn't work with the goggles for some reason. They don't show you any font other than the font that they want to show you. It's translating anyway. It doesn't even show you this. It's just a big white X, and I don't know if DJI allows you to make any changes to that, but currently all of this doesn't look all fat and cool like that because it didn't take. It probably works on other formats, but not with the DJI, so I'm stuck with whatever it gives me. I don't know. Well, I think I have figured out a way to show that to you, and I will do that eventually. But that's a big disappointment, although it has nothing to do with flying and using the equipment. It's a bummer. Okay. Other information. I did find out some Blackbox information. If you have, mine is not full. Mine is empty right now. It will show you when it's full, and when it is, you can save it to a file, and then you can erase the flash, which I did. Saving it to a file left me with a choice of course, putting it on my desktop, which I did, and I was able to open that in a Blackbox viewer other than INAV. Okay, that to me was sort of a no-brainer. Once I realized it saves it to a text file, I'm like, I looked at the text and I thought, there's nothing unusual about this. It's just data and values, and it converts just fine. You put it into any Blackbox viewer, and it'll give you waveform interpretations. It was Cineflight, and your application can simply save text. And look at what I saw when I put my text file of data into it. This is my gyros, completely off the charts. So I have to get to a place where it's at least a readable wave, and I think that'll happen with the changing of props. Before we move on, let me give you a quick reminder about power conflicts. Please unplug the battery and unplug the USB from the computer or the drone before you make power changes. Plugging in the battery, plugging in the drone without the battery, you have to disconnect from the computer, or you're just going to have power conflicts, and it's going to make you frustrated and mad, and Betaflight doesn't do this, and so it's kind of frustrating. Now, this flight test doesn't have any audio. Not sure why my camera wasn't recording sound. I got beeps again when arming, and it was the GPS. It does arm when the GPS has all its satellites. Launching performance is still kind of crazy. I'm not sure. It's not too bad. Again, my throttle position and my position hold switch are at odds with each other. This video was shot before those changes were engaged, so a lot will change when we put on fresh, better props, three-way. You can see I do have to make adjustments to come back to center. I constantly have to roll to the right, roll to the left, pitch forward, pitch back, to stay in the middle, even though it's relatively doing it by itself. It wanders all over the place, and in fact, when I let it sit still, it made a little swirl, which got to a widening gyre, which indicates props and not gyro. It turns out these master air screws, they're not that great. I have these inexpensive ones that break under almost any condition, even during the flight, anywhere along the vane, even right down to the hub. The master air screws, they're a little better than that. They break toward the ends. They're brittle. They're thin and brittle, and I was expecting better for the price. But for testing, they were fine. I need to move into the higher quality props now. I will be putting on the glass reinforced blades, and they are 3-vane, and they will probably be more stable. They're firmer, they're more rigid all the way to the end, and as long as I don't chip the tips or snap them or hit them against something metal. Damaged props will cause the magnetometer to freak out, and you get a flyaway, and the thing just takes off like a rocket, and you kill the power, and you let the thing fall to the ground. Here we are in PID tuning, and I left most of this the same. I reduced these 2. I increased these 3. This I left the same because it was claimed to have been working. This I still don't know about, position Z. This is all for movement when it's moving on its own, so I left all of that alone. It seems to be fine. I raised this level of strength to 50, and I saved it. Okay, so what I did here was mid-throttle is now 40. That's right about here. And throttle expo is at 60. This I'm still not happy with. That might be too much. I'm going to raise this to 50. And let's leave that alone. We'll try this. I don't know, we'll try this. Let's save that. Alright, I also wanted to show you in DJI's playback, you have OSD option at the top there to turn on and off. You can see the DJI flight data, you just can't see your programmed data. You'll also notice the red indicator showing no battery power. I think that switch is not turned on in INAV. I gotta fix it. Before we leave, I wanted to show you that your goggles record a second file, the Srt file, and it has embedded metadata, and that can be seen by the use of subtitles in your viewer, in your player, which in this case works on the VLC player. Although it's not your on-screen display, this data might be useful to somebody who is reviewing their flight info. And that should wrap up 4.7. When we come back, we'll deal with the props and the black box issues that we couldn't interpret, and hopefully we'll have solved some things.